Hi, everybody. It is the live AV Tech Podcast. It's going to be a fantastic time this evening. We've got Bill Hall from Showmasters here. Mark's going to talk to him for a little while about all that fun stuff. You may be wondering about my shirt. Nah, you don't worry about my shirt. But it is Jamie Vardy. Jamie Vardy. The rat-faced speed demon. Anyhow, without further ado, let's introduce the guys. I gotta hit this button, and I gotta hit this button. And there's everybody. Hey, everybody.
Hi.
Hello.
So, Mark, take it away.
Awesome. Thanks, Mickey. Excited for tonight. This is the first night I get to do it from the home studio, aka the living room, aka the new office, where everything happens now. So excited to be here. Excited for tonight's discussion with Bill. And our panel tonight is Rich Smith and Jackson and Paul Finsel. So we got some lighting guys on the panel tonight to have some discussion. We were talking a little bit before about what's been going on, kind of all of our years got ruined in a matter of a couple of days. I know, Rich, you were talking about having some work lined up and everything looking good for you out at the Irving Convention Center. How's it been going since then? Have you got anything else going on? Or
No, I got in a scooter wreck the end of March. I have a broke leg. I've been on my back since the end of March.
wow,
I get kind of ironic. Of any time to get hurt, I guess this is the best time. There is no work, and I'm getting unemployment, so I cannot complain.
Yeah.
Life is good, except for I can't walk. I'm looking at other opportunities. We're going to talk. You're going to talk about this. I don't see this business coming back anytime this year. Maybe not ever. I mean, we may not ever see live events again.
it's going to be a while. Yeah, I mean, most of the people I talk to, owners in different companies, for sure, 2020 is out. Some are even saying late 2021, possibly. I mean, I think 2022 at best, just for even to get back to what it was. But that's all conjecture. We're all just kind of trying to predict. Yeah. But I think for sure, what we're seeing with the business is 2020 is done.
I mean, any time a vaccine might show up, and I'll go back to work tomorrow.
Yeah, maybe.
Who knows?
We don't know. That's part of the stress of all of it.
But I'm looking at. I mean, most of us are. I'm looking at something way different. I mean, everybody's got to start looking at something, don't we?
Yeah.
Or else we're going to starve and be homeless. I got children. I can't do that.
Yeah. Well, speaking of looking at something different, talking with Paul and Jackson earlier, they're doing something different. They're actually they were working on
something different.
There you go.
I'll till I got a new tiller. I'll till for you. I'll clean your gutters. I'll wash your damn car. But that's normal for me in July anyway. I mean, I'll do whatever you need for very cheap in July. So
that's right.
Not anything new there. But whatever. We gotta move on. I got habits I gotta supply. So I still gotta make money for that.
Yeah.
I've been in cheap mode this entire time.
In what mode?
Yeah, no, that's part of the cheap mode.
Oh, cheap mode. Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't really have a choice right now.
Yeah. We'll see how long his girlfriend lasts in cheap mode.
Hey, just because it's out of a dumpster doesn't mean it can't be romantic.
How do you have a girlfriend in these times?
Well, I met her on a dating app, and apparently somehow I haven't scared her away yet. And
yeah, she's met the whole family.
Yeah,
several times too.
That sounds like love already.
Oh, yeah.
She's super sweet. There's got to be something wrong.
Well, she was in the Navy.
She was in the Navy, so
she knows a thing or two. Then I guess.
Man, thing of three probably.
Awesome. Well, we'll come back to you guys after Bill and I get done talking. But thanks for being here. Thanks for being a part of it. And let's introduce our special guest for tonight. It's Bill Hall, owner and founder of Showmasters. Bill, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm hanging in there like everybody else is trying to do.
Yeah, I think we're all trying to do that in one way or
Yeah.
another. It seems everything's just kind of up and down. You have your good days and your bad days, and sometimes it happens in the same day.
Yep. It's it's been a roller coaster, and it's actually up to this point for me personally, it's been a course of overcoming depression, you
Yep.
know, and keeping the light at the end of the tunnel, just being positive about it. And
Well, let's start there.
So-
That's kind of, I think, pretty pertinent to what we're all dealing with. Myself personally going through that as well. What have you found that helps you overcome that depression? What kind of steps have you taken to help you with that?
Well, it's a couple of things. One of them is taking advantage of the time down.
Yeah.
I think that probably the whole reason for most of the depression is just because we're so busy all the time. This business of ours keeps us performing and working on a very high level all the time. And when you get used to that environment, it becomes your normal.
Yeah.
And when you don't have that going on, and it's just like the complete opposite, it's a shock. It's a shock to the system.
Yeah.
And you kind of find yourself not knowing what to do, and you meaning me and probably everybody else is that we're kind of freaking out here, and what do we do? And the other side of that coin is, hey, there probably aren't a lot of generations who get an opportunity like this. Whether you're in business or not, is to be able to absolutely be forced to do nothing.
Mm.
And become okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
So, a lot of this time has been an opportunity. Hey, here we go. An opportunity for me to heal, an opportunity to finally take some time to think about stuff that I don't have time to think about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think that's been the hard part is you hit it right on the head. We live our lives. It's so just go, 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 go. We never have that time to stop and go, oh, what about me? Like, what do I need? What do I want? And we're in this business of service. So we're always providing services for other people. And in the matter of, it was 2 days, literally like that, the beginning of March, it all got taken away. And you start to realize a lot of things that you built your system of faith on, your system of trust, and things are good, was all this stuff built out in the future that you quickly realize that doesn't mean anything. So you have that rug swept out from under you, and then you have that time to sit alone with yourself in silence and know that you have no choice over what's coming in the future. It's hard to handle.
Yeah, it is. But on the other side of that, once you talk yourself into getting out of bed again, is, you start thinking about, okay, so this is the other thing that a lot of generations don't experience, is being in the business and having complete shutdown time. Actually, the thing that I've been praying for years is, if this business would just stop, if the world would just stop for a little while, and I could get some things done that have kind of been on the back burner, just because things are just go, go, go all the time.
Yeah.
And it's given us, as a company, as Showmasters, in all three of our divisions, it's given us an opportunity to really look at retooling a lot of things that we've wanted to retool, look at our processes, look at the way that we just operate as a service, look at efficiencies, look at everything involving procedure and policy, and just retool it all. There's never going to be a chance. It's never like this. Even the normal summer downtime.
It's not really down anymore.
Yeah, well,
you don't have that. They say it's down, but it's only slower. It's slow.
Yeah. So it's it's just a great opportunity to jump on those sort of things. So
So with you at Showmasters, you're making these changes, you're retooling, you're setting things up. So you're building for business to come back.
Yes.
What do you see that looking like? How are you making those changes at Showmasters to get rebuilt for the new business coming out when it comes back?
Well, a lot of it's efficiencies. I mean, any given system, U.S. government, a company, a car, anything, any system, if you stress it hard enough, is going to reveal its weaknesses.
Mm-hmm.
And we know what those weaknesses are. We know what those challenges are. We know where the loose parts are, and to be able to have the train actually stop, and to be able to get off and stretch and maybe take a nap and heal, and then start saying, hey, we've got all this stuff that we can fix. We have all these things that we can do, that when the business does come back, and it will come back.
Yeah, I believe so too.
People have to be together.
Yeah.
There is my wife was showing me a thing about the 5 love languages. I'm sure you're familiar with it.
Yeah.
One of them is touch, and that's extraordinarily important to people.
Yep.
And not that we're all, hey, looking forward to live event business getting back so we can touch each other and stuff. But it's easy, Paul. But being in person, you have a level of communication that the video is good,
right?
But it's the collaboration just isn't as pure as it is when you have a group of people together.
You have the nuances and those little movements I can see in your face and your body language and your expression of when you walk away. You just said something, but you walked away, and it showed me he didn't really mean what he just said. I think we should probably address that issue. So yeah, there's things that happen in person that you're not going to get over the video.
Well, and where are the best deals struck? You always hear the story about the best deal happening on a cocktail napkin.
Right.
You can't do that on a web conference.
Yeah.
And I think that's sort of the fundamental of it all. And back when 9/11 happened, live event business shut down.
Yeah.
And everybody was talking about, web conferencing, that's going to be what everything's going to, and we're not going to do. You know what? No, it didn't last. I should have a headset like you do. I think I've got the wrong size rubber thing on the end of my ear.
Yeah, it keeps squeezing out there on you.
Yeah. It's like, what's wrong with his ear? Why does he keep sticking his finger in his ear? But 9/11. But it faded, and once, in that case it was terrorism. In this case, it's a pandemic. But the root of both of those things that are keeping people from getting back, besides just caution, is trust. And if it's the vaccine, and hey, there's a lot of people, there's a lot of companies working on a vaccine right now, a lot. And we are not in the 18th century. We are in a very modern time where there's incredible, pharmaceutical technology at work here. And, that's a thing that I'm very positive about. And we're not talking about something like Ebola here. It's a harsh disease. This virus is a harsh virus, and it's definitely not the flu, and it's definitely for real, and we certainly need to be careful about it. But
in times like these, though, things that are difficult just spur innovation, spur us to change. They push us in all kinds of different ways, not just personally, but like you're saying, these big companies, there's lots of money and big people working on solutions, not just healthcare, not just in pharmaceuticals, but just in the way that we live our lives from day to day. This is going to usher in changes that we'll look back in 10 years and go, oh, that started That started with COVID-19. Holy crap, that's crazy to even think about. I mean, because you look at an iPhone 20 years ago, that was science fiction. I mean, that was stuff that like you would just watch in a movie and be like, whoa, wouldn't that be so cool? And now when we throw it on the couch like it's nothing, we take it for granted. Like, oh yeah, that's just my iPhone. So change is going to happen.
We still have the lasting effects of 9/11. You know,
Yeah.
Security is not what it used to be. Before 9/11, security at the airports and security in general, national security, it's what was impacted in society by something as significant as 9/11 in American society.
Yeah.
So, you know, we're going to see those effects. You know, I kind of hesitate to use the phrase new normal except on a temporary basis.
Yeah.
You know, because things do tend to settle back to normal. I think that maybe people get used to stuff and people kind of start to forget, hey, I need to continue to be cautious because it's just because I'm used to it doesn't mean that it's gone away. But anyway, I digress.
No, but yeah, so it's going to come back, and there's going to be a reason for people to need to meet. I think the difference between this and 9/11, as far as the video conferencing thing, technology has moved a lot further along, and so a lot of these companies are now seeing the potential that online communication has. So I think that all this is going to do is just usher in more opportunities and more jobs for us in the live environment to incorporate streaming and things like that. So when you have a general session, when they go to breakouts now, well, breakouts won't just be a breakout. There's going to be a streaming option in there too, because we're going to need to conference in the rest of the team, who's on the East Coast, who's on the West Coast, who's in Asia, who's in Europe. So all those things become available now because these companies are seeing that that's possible. So when I see that to me opens up so much more opportunity for us as technicians. So now instead of a breakout needing a floater for 10 rooms, you need a tech in every single room, and you need a stream tech. And so now you're doubling all your labor and things like that.
Yes.
Which is where companies like yourself come in. And
that's the key word, is opportunity right there. You've got these new elements of the show. I do have a feeling that, you know, because 9/11 was a day, and then it was the after effects of that. So pandemic is not just a single day event. You know, this is a thing that is still going on that, you know, is certainly going to exceed a year's time, I'm sure, as far as, you know, the actual threat of the virus and all that. And just because the length of time that this has taken, I think that what it does is it's lending the opportunity for people to adopt the technology that we've got to do web conferencing.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay?
Yep.
But you hit it on the head right there, is that communication technology still requires technicians. It still requires setup, and it still requires operation and troubleshooting. And so, you know, until the day when, I guess, you know, the robots take over, that, you know, we're still good, because people are still got to be needed to facilitate that, even though we're probably looking at, probably for a pretty good long run, if not from now on, that we're going to be looking at events that are more of a hybrid flavor. Yeah. Instead of live.
Yeah, from what I'm hearing from clients and stuff that I'm doing virtual stuff for now, they're addicted to this thing. They see the potential and the power behind it. They're going to want to keep using it. So
it's the time is right for technology, and the length of time that this has gone on, you know,
gives us a chance to adapt, gives us a chance to perfect it and get better at it. I'm learning new things every time I do an event. Anytime I'm online, I'm learning something new about the technology that I didn't realize before. So, well, let's speak about opportunities. So let's go back. We're going to time travel back to the start of Showmasters. So take me back to 1995, and then kind of walk me through that start. And then while you're still a lighting guy, until you go, all right, that's it, I'm going to go full time.
Okay. So there's a long version of the story, which is great, but it takes several hours.
We'll do that over drinks once this is all over.
There you go. I'm looking forward to that. So the business sort of landed in my lap, and it was just an opportunity to I was working for my parents doing lawn sprinkler repair, so not too far away from gutters. So I'm with you. We're cool, like brothers. And I hated it. I loved working for my parents, and I love my parents, but and the business would have been mine. Um, the stagehand thing landed in my lap, and I was spending a bloody fortune on concert tickets already. And it was like, hold it. So you're telling me that I get to go work a concert, see the concert for free, get a backstage pass, and you're going to give me a t-shirt? I'm in.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's an easy decision.
Yeah, that wasn't a hard one. My band had just broken up, and I needed something. I needed some sort of outlet as far as music is concerned.
Now, how old were you when this happened?
1995. See, yeah, at my age you have to do math, so I would have been 20. I would have been 24.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so. 24. I was born in 71, so.
Yep, math checks out. We're good.
Okay, cool. Thanks. And I took a look around at it, and it was like, man, I love this, and I think that this could actually be something that I could really be passionate about and really enjoy. And that didn't take long. I mean, once you get into the business, and especially if you're just a nerd at heart, it's just like, oh man, this is great. Look at all these gadgets and systems, and it's awesome. And it's, after a while, I kind of got tired of, I don't know, I was teaching myself stuff, the internet was just kind of getting to that point where, you could start going online and really like teaching yourself stuff and learning stuff. And if I couldn't do that, then, I was like, companies that I'd work for or something like that, I'd say, hey, can I borrow that whole hog console manual? I want to take it home and read it.
Nerd.
Yeah, right. And just geek out on it sometime,
That's
and
right.
let me do that. So I taught myself lighting. I took a couple of courses, got to that point where I knew more than what people were telling me to do. And so I started turning down stagehand work and started doing technician work. And then, started learning how to program and really got all the fundamentals down, and just basically started designing, started programming, and, started understanding, because I'd never had to do it before. I understood how to market myself. I recognized that nobody was going to know my skill set unless they were in that ballroom with me.
Right.
Because all my stuff was corporate. I did some festival stuff, but it was mostly corporate. And nobody was going to know what I did unless they were in the ballroom. And the ones that were already in ballroom were the clients that were hiring me. So
right.
So what I did was I started taking pictures and video of my work, and I put it on a CD. I made a little video, made a little slideshow, and that's what I used to start marketing myself. And
that's awesome.
I mean, especially with lighting, it's great because it's like, you can
see it.
It's so visual, and you get people saying, "Hey, oh my gosh, this is great. I can see what you're doing," and they like the work, and it was like, okay, well then let's talk. Pull out that cocktail napkin, and so that's where it went. And then it was actually towards the end of my time it was actually towards my time, probably in the middle of being a stagehand, that I got a call from Ryan Hager, who he said, "Hey, I'm up at Synchrolite, big moving light company in Dallas, and we're working on an assembly line to build some lighting fixtures for the Olympics." And it's like, oh, cool. And he's like, and it pays $10 an hour and they're looking for people. And I was like, oh, sign me up. That's cool.
Yeah.
So I was sitting there working on an assembly line, making giant color scrollers and stuff.
Wow.
And I guess I was just known as having a list of people. I had always sort of just networked because I like relationships and I like just connecting with people and stuff. So I had just sort of naturally accumulated a list of contact information. And I somehow that was known, and they called me in the office and they said, hey, we want to, we need to step up our assembly here. Can you get us like 20 people? And I was like, okay. So I brought in 20 people and that was successful. And then they called me in the office again and they were like, hey, so we're doing this like big show after a Dallas Cowboy game, and it's this big Shania Twain thing, and it's going to be this television special, and we need 130 people. And I was like, hang on a second, and I took a giant breath and I composed myself, and I was like, okay, well, let's do this.
Quite a bit more than 20.
Yeah, let's do this. That sounds good. Okay. And, did it, and it was successful. And then we started doing the halftime shows for the Thanksgiving Day game at Texas Stadium.
Because of that one call, because of you supplying the 120, they're like, all right, let's go back and use this guy again.
Well, yeah, I mean, what is it? You're as good as your last show.
Yeah.
So, the reputation became, hey, this guy can get the goods. And so let's, he can obviously handle things that are scaled up in demand. So let's
give it to him till he fails.
Let's try to break him. Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly.
So doing the halftime shows, and after about the third halftime show, I mean, when we were successful at it every time, and of course, when you have opportunity, people find out about it, you're looking for it, but the word's getting around, buzz is out there, people are coming out of the woodwork, and of course that little call list blew up.
Yeah.
And then it was like, okay, so, we're pretty good at this. Maybe this could be like, a good side business, little beer money or something.
Yeah.
And so, yes, I started Showmasters for beer money.
Nice.
And And after a few years, it was probably, because that started in about February 2002, and we did 3 more halftime shows. And by 2005, I got a phone call from Debbie, who is my administrative person, and she called me and she said, Bill, you need to be, because I was out running a crew. I was a lighting director on some job somewhere in the middle of the ballroom, and she was like, we need you full time now. And it was like, yeah, you're right. So did the last gigs that I was committed for and did not take anymore, and just went full time with it. And it was at that point where I started to realize that, hey, if I put my full attention into this, if I put my full energy into this, I can make this anything that I want to.
Mm-hmm.
And then, go ahead.
Yeah. So before that switch, before Debbie, right? That was her name.
Debbie. Yeah.
Yeah. So before she called you and says, we need you to go full time. I mean, you had to have thoughts before that of thinking like, maybe I could do this, or maybe I should go full time with this. Mm-hmm. What was that lead up to that? So that when she says that to you, you go, yeah, you're right. Because there's many different decisions in there that break down that for you to go, okay, I'm doing it.
Well, it's very astute of you to bring up that point and ask that question. I think you know where this is going. I
don't. I have no idea. I really don't.
Okay. Well, you won't be surprised by the answer, but
really curious.
I knew that call was coming. I had been thinking about it myself, because if you're going to own a business, you can't be a freelancer. You just can't do both things at once. A business is a giant baby, not the people, but the business. It's a giant needy baby. And being one who has never run a business before, and only having experience observing my parents in basically a mom and pop shop sort of operation,
Right.
there's a lot to learn about running a business that I didn't know. And as the business was growing, it was really occurring to me that, I didn't need to be running around playing with lights anymore, and it was time. So when she did that, it was like the nudge that was like, yeah, I know, okay,
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
this.
Let's do this.
Yeah.
So how do you prepare to make that move as not just as the owner of this company, but as an individual? I mean, how do you go from I've never run a business to, okay, I'm going to start this business? How do you individually make that adjustment? What do you do? Or do you just, oh, well, I just got to figure it out and you just do it as it comes? Because there's not a manual. There's not a whole hog manual that you can sit down and read. There's
That's right.
millions of books, but there's not that one manual.
Yeah, nothing's going to really tell you everything. And there's a lot of things that you just can't learn from a book or school. And, those are the things that it's just, okay, well, experience is just going to have to lend me that insight. But we did kind of a test drive of it for a year. And that gave us the opportunity to really kind of look at what our system needed to look like. Of course, having done that Shania Twain thing and 3 halftime shows, we'd already gotten a lot of foundation built just from the necessity to be able to record people's hours.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, it's like, okay, well, you're recording hours where you also have to, you have to invoice, and you have to payroll, and you have to do all that accurately with the same data. And so, I became very good at Excel, and I was already using a lot of Excel as a lighting director, and with spreadsheets and patch sheets and stuff like that. And so basically the system was already in development, and then I learned how to code in Visual Basic, and started putting a lot of automation into the system, and basically just built. The key was building an administrative infrastructure that was, okay, the system being smooth is the one thing that I don't have to worry about.
Mm-hmm.
And we can just focus on things like the money, which was a huge stumbling block for me in the first few years, because I didn't have any experience running a business. And I probably could have read a couple of books on that, but before. But fortunately, it was, hey, be quick on your feet. Don't let what seems like a troubling situation bring you down. Press that face just harder into the grindstone,
Mm-hmm.
and figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
This is adult time now, and you got a lot of people that are starting to depend on you, and this can be anything that you want it to be. So push that face into the grindstone and make this work.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. And I became very adept at recognizing opportunity,
Mm-hmm.
whether it was a good opportunity or not. I certainly,
There's an opportunity.
yeah, but there was a couple opportunities that I took that were like, oh, bother, I shouldn't have done that. That was an expensive mistake. That was a bad call. But every mistake that I made, I learned a lesson from it. And it basically honed my eye for recognizing what good opportunities were versus bad.
Yeah.
and just continuing to learn, continuing to teach myself, continuing to build and remember what it's all about, not get
Yeah.
lost.
Yeah. Well, let's dive into some of those difficult times. Let's go into some of those darker times with Showmasters as you're learning and as you're going along. And there's times where you're not able to make payments. There's times where you're not able to do the business as you want. You're a big company, so kind of by being that, your laundry is out there. But I think a lot of people would be interested to hear from you, like in that, like how do you adjust and what are you going through in those times, and then adjusting your business and correcting course because you're still around and you're still successful. So you made it through it.
Well, I made it through because I learned the lessons, and the cool thing about those lessons that I learned during that time, which is about 2005, 2006, 2007. Those were three particularly towards the end of 2005 into 06 and 07 were particularly difficult financially, just because I wasn't making the right decisions about how to compensate staff. And one of the things that I had to do to really recover was I needed to rework the way that people were compensated. Something that was going to be, something that was going to work according to the business and the nature of the business. I contacted all of my vendors, phone carrier and software and anything, insurance, whatever, and did whatever I could to negotiate prices to try and soften that. So there was a lot of work that I did that if it wasn't, I looked at my pricing as well. It was like, I'm not charging enough. I'm running a business here. This is not a not-for-profit organization. And it's even worse when, number one, you're not making a profit. Number two, you're actually losing money. And to really pay attention, just like a freelancer negotiating their day rate, it's like you have to pay attention to that. You have to give that thought and consideration, or you're going to get yourself in trouble. And of course, that exponentially compounds when you have a business where you've got you're worried about there's a whole
hundreds
lot
and hundreds.
Yeah, you've got a lot more riding on the line than just yourself. As a freelancer, as a business owner, it becomes, there's a lot at stake, and that means that I need to pay attention to this exponentially more as far as the money is concerned. All of those things, whether it's doing something to increase revenue and profit by reducing cost, those lessons that I learned not only saved the company from ruin, but it also came in really handy when we started seeing shows dropping like flies because of the pandemic. This is old. At this point, it was old hat to me. It was like, well, okay, I've seen that. It may not be the same cause, but I've seen this before, and I know what to do.
Yeah, so speak to that. Speak to how those experiences directly influence now.
The first thing that I did was I had a conversation with each and every one of the salary earners in our business and all of our full-timers. And it wasn't send a memo out and, this is what's going to happen, or I'm going to start laying off or furloughing people. It was a lot of discussions. It started with one-on-one conversations and small teams. And, ultimately kind of built up to a large collaboration where it was like, through all the discussion, I really came to the conclusions about what were the best moves to make to retain everybody and keep the company alive and, position us to when the business does come back, that we're going to be better than ever.
Yeah.
As tried as that sounds, it's going to be the case because we're already working on it, and it's also a great side effect is that I've got I've got everybody working on policy and procedure retooling, and it's got their juices flowing. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I left a lot of people alone for a few months. It was just like, hey, you know something? We'd just gotten over Super Bowl. We did Super Bowl in Miami, and just a monstrous January and February in all of our markets, and then it all disappeared. And you know, all the guys in Florida were, I mean, well, not even Florida, everywhere. All the production folks in our markets were burnt out, and it was like, you know what, you guys kick it back, you know.
Yeah, they're
You
glad
guys,
they do that.
yeah, you guys heal for a little while. I'm going to do the same. This isn't going anywhere, and I knew it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we weren't going to be, oh, you know, May and we're kicking again. You know,
Yeah.
I knew that this was going to be a knockout punch that was going to keep us down for a while. So, you know, you guys heal for a couple of months, and then, you know, I started working on, you know, building a foundation that I presented to everybody and said, hey, you know, let's start working on this, and got them working on it, and got their juices flowing, and got the wheels turning again.
Yeah.
And now people are like excited to be working on this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it's great. It's like, hey, you know, even though that we're all in agreement that live event is going to come back, and it may be a little bit different in the end, but you know, the industry isn't dead.
Yeah.
It's still good to give people hope. It's
Mm-hmm.
still good to give people something to work for, and realize, hey, you know something? We're doing something here that it's got purpose, and it's gonna be. It makes it real for them that, you know, things are gonna come back. You know,
Yeah.
And so yeah, that's what's kind of in progress right now, and it's great.
Yeah, no, it's exciting. I mean, I think kind of tying that in for you, you know, going through those struggles and seeing what you're made of, and seeing what you can take from inside yourself to get you through this, and then now to look at this as a leader of a company who has a team of people, to come to them with this and say, okay, like let's take some time. Let's all take some time to heal, because as you've even said, you needed that time as well.
Mm-hmm.
That breath, take that breath in. Let's calm down. One thing that stands out to me, though, in all of that you're talking about, is what you talked about earlier: is loving to connect with people. That, for me personally, is my number one thing. I love connecting with people. That's why I'm doing this, because it just gives me this chance to connect. You and I've never talked before 2 days ago, and I just called to say, hey, I'm looking forward to talking to you. But we're both connectors, and so we're able to have this conversation. So talk about that in this time of the digital world, and we're videoing and all this stuff, is still connecting with your team and with your people, and giving them that hope, and giving them that, hey, we're going to get through this. I'm right here with you guys. We've gone through it before. We're going to go through it again. Talk about how that connection helps make that possible.
Well, I think that people like to know that they're not alone. They like to know that, you know, I mean, in isolation, it's very easy for you to buy into the imaginary prospect that you're the only one going through something, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and to be able to have that connection, and you know, there's a lot of, you know, we joke around about it, we whine about it, we complain about it, you know, we all kind of give ourselves that latitude to be able to do so, but then we get back at it, because I think that it just kind of, it gets us past that line of, you know, poor me, and it's like, you know what, we're all in this together, man. It's all good.
Yeah.
And just having that connection, I think is absolutely critical. And I've had a lot of conversations with people in different companies, production houses, labor companies, whatever. And I've heard about a few that are they're a little disconnected to their people.
Mhm.
And it's like, hey, this is hard on everybody. And you've got to recognize that, e- everybody needs comfort in this. Everybody needs some understanding, and not only that, but there's a lot of fear. This isn't it isn't even so much fear about the virus itself anymore. It's
No.
fear about what's life gonna look like for me. Where is my income gonna come from?
Mhm.
A lot of this has been biding time.
Yeah.
Thank goodness for the government, the federal and state governments, disaster relief benefits through the unemployment system.
Yeah.
I think that's fantastic. The problem is that I guess they just can't print money fast enough because it's got to end at some point, and unfortunately, there's the whole thing about what's next, and I think that if there was anything that I could, if there was anything that's sort of at the front of my mind right now, it's I better have more than just plan A.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
It is by the recognition of opportunity that I have a division of my company that does systems integration, which is the permanent installation of audiovisual and lighting systems.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw that as an opportunity. I wasn't thinking about diversification at the time. It was just like, well, I knew it was a very good opportunity with the individual that I had met, who ended up becoming, the director of the division, and it's a magnificent operation based in Orlando, and that industry has actually ended up turning out to be the one division that they're actually kind of busy.
I can imagine.
Well, I mean, they're waiting for things to be lifted, like, construction sites aren't just opened back up again.
Right.
A lot of that's very slow to open up, and there's still lockdowns on stuff. So just waiting for that to be raised. But the thing is that stuff is a little different environment than, like the corporate conference, where you've got people crammed into a ballroom and seats next to each other, and you've got a little more opportunity in a construction environment for social distancing is pretty naturally already built into the situation, because all the trades are kind of, they're not necessarily stepping
on top of each other. Yeah.
So that was like, oh gosh. So another lesson that I learned was something that I recognized that I had without thinking about it when I created it. And that was, wow, how handy is this that, this pandemic comes. I've got two divisions in the live event industry, one of them in production labor and one of them in exhibit install and dismantle labor, supplies. And that's live events. And that just, and then you've got permanent installation. These guys are still churning out like proposals and stuff. And it's like, oh, thank goodness for that. It's like, okay, so I'm thinking about two different things here. I'm like, first of all, thankful for the diversification. And it's something that I'm going to be mindful of if I were to ever, I don't know if I'm going to do anything else besides what I've got already,
Well, we don't know what's happening tomorrow, so.
Yeah, that's right. So
let's
yeah,
stick with right now.
I really can't say that. But one of the things is, what I think that the live event industry is going to scale down. And, we're certainly going to see that scaled down for, I think we can guarantee that for probably the next few years. Unless something magnificent happens like a vaccine and
And everybody takes it and it works and it's wonderful.
Oh man,
Everybody's good. Yeah.
Yes. So that'd be super, and we're all kind of hoping and praying for that. But what's the plan B? And even if you're staying in the industry, well, look at the opportunities that are coming up. Look at things like broadcast and web streaming, and things involving Wirecast and stuff. It's like Wirecast, but it's AV people that never even heard of any of that before. And being a Zoom operator, being somebody that's facilitating that sort of stuff virtually, it's like, hey, you know what? If something's going to go down like this, being in the information age is an absolutely perfect time for it to happen, because there's your opportunity right there. You can take advantage of learning more. And I think that you tie that into diversification. It's like, I don't just have to be a projectionist anymore and wait for projectionism to come back.
Right.
That I can, in the realm of video or audio, or even lighting, when you're talking about a studio setting where you're broadcasting virtual events, is that all of those things are still valid. It's just in a different flavor of it. And it's like, if there's, like what this company is doing to retool, what freelancers can be doing is to learn more and to educate themselves. Use this opportunity to not hold your breath on everything like it was coming back, but hoping for it. And that's plan A, and that's great.
You can hope, but that's
right. But
what you have in your control, what you have at your availability. You're saying that with information age, it's there for us to have that. So it's there for us to embrace it.
That's right. And you got to have a plan B, and that's, and you wrap up all that stuff with, okay, how am I going to market myself? How am I going to educate myself? What am I going to do to be better at being a client-facing professional? There's all sorts of things that you can work on internally and externally to not just take advantage of this, what actually ends up being precious downtime to be able to do some personal and professional growth.
I agree completely. I think you hit it on the head there. Well, as I give Mickey some time to prepare us to bring the panel back in, my last question is, and this could be a brief answer, it could be a long answer. I'm not sure what I'm getting into with this. But
my answers are all long. Sorry.
That's nothing to be sorry about. Like, absolutely, it's been a pleasure. I've really enjoyed this a lot.
Likewise.
I'm going to ask you to say, what's one thing that I'm not in the labor broker industry. I'm not in the install business industry. I'm not a CEO. I run my own business as a freelancer, but what's one thing that people outside of your industry don't know about what it's like to run a labor broker company or an install company? What's that thing that for you is like, why don't people just understand this? Why don't people get that this is what this is? Because for me, like, I think of running a labor company as being like a high school principal. You got your teachers, you got to manage them, to manage the students, to manage the curriculum. There's all these just little nuances. So what's one thing that maybe we don't know about?
You mean just like, somebody that isn't in the labor business?
Mm-hmm.
To be in the labor business, I would say that probably the big thing is all of the moving parts. Because you're not just dealing with, number one, you have to identify your talent. Okay. And that's management, that's skill sets, that's who works well together, that's reliability, that's all the things that you need in the people that make up your team on a job site. And then there's, so clients are placing orders. Sometimes you get 6 months in advance. We have stuff on the books for 2021, which is great. But and some things are like, hey, we need like 10 guys. Well, when
In
do
2
you,
hours.
I needed 45 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Can you
I've
do that?
placed those calls with you before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like there's that, and then it's like, okay, so now once that's happened, it's like, okay, so you got people that there are freelancers that I think maybe don't really have the, I'm choosing my words carefully here.
Yeah, I understand.
But I think that there are some people that don't recognize how important commitment is. And, it's like, they call it gig jumping, where it's like, okay, well, I'm booked on this thing, but I just got offered a higher rate. And, hey, I call up the company I'm booked for and say, hey, sorry, I got to go. I got a better gig somewhere else. And of course, well, what does that do? Well, that leaves us high and dry.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, something, we can have a conversation about it, and there might be some considerations to make, but don't assume that we're going to want to call you back after you leave us like that. Yeah. And that's probably one of the most difficult things in the whole realm of moving parts is, people that don't recognize that a commitment is a commitment, and right. that this is a business. We're not talking about, there's a lot of people. It's not just us that's depending on the freelancer. It's our clients and our clients' clients and our clients' clients, and so on and so on and so on.
All the moving pieces.
All of it. And then of course you've got clients that are making changes all the time. Let's see, we need to add 10
every time.
Oh yeah. Hey, listen, can we move that call up from 3 p.m. to 2 p.m.? And hey, we need to cancel this. And it's everything. And but the thing is, what your entire, from a labor standpoint, your entire set of product is human.
Yeah.
You're not dealing with gear. There's gear involved, but you're not dealing with gear. You're dealing with humans. Yeah. And you have to remember that they're humans. Okay. And that means, hey, communication is the key here. And of course, there's a million ways to explain all the different ways I mean communication, whether it's discipline or just the educational talk, or
professional courtesy
changes, or anything. All sorts of different flavors of communication. Those things are key in all that. And it's the moving parts. It's an absolute circus.
That's probably why it takes a connector like yourself to be able to deal with it and put up with some stuff like that to run this kind of business. So,
and I've surrounded myself with connectors. Those are the kind of people that we have on our staff, and the ones in the past that are not truly connectors of people. They're not the ones that tend to work out, because it's a people business.
Yep.
And of course, every business is a people business, but
some are more than others.
Yeah, and then when this is
specifically yours, the product is people. The product is human beings.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. Well, cool. So let's bring the panel back in. We had a really good long discussion. Thanks for guys for hanging out for that entire time. Rich, I saw you writing a few things down, so I think you might have some things to say right away.
You saw that, did you?
Yeah.
Hey, Bill, you've come a long ways, man. I knew you way back when, and then I knew you in the middle of this. You've come a long ways. It's really cool to see the way you are. That's pretty awesome.
Thank you, brother.
You're welcome. I don't. The virus. What if it doesn't? What if HIV is a virus? They don't have a vaccine for HIV. Granted, there hasn't been as much money thrown at it, and it's a little bit different, but still, it's a virus. Mm-hmm. What if? I mean, what if we're looking at 5 years before there's a feasible vaccine that anybody's willing to take? Then what?
In context to just everything in general, or the business, or
we are all hoping that by 2021 we're working again, right? We're banking on next year that some type of this industry is coming back, aren't we? Aren't you?
sure.
What if it doesn't? What if it doesn't? What if it's 2025?
Okay. So number one is expand yourself. We're in the internet age. We've got the world at our fingertips where we can learn absolutely anything about anything. And so take advantage of that opportunity to devise, to create diversity in your skill set. Look at, and of course that's working on plan A, but that's also working on plan B too.
But what is Showmasters going to do if that I've got something going on, I've got other opportunities I'm going to dive into tomorrow. But as a company, as Showmasters, what is Showmasters going to do?
As Showmasters,
will they survive? Will Showmasters survive that? Will any labor company survive that?
I have a feeling that there are a lot of labor companies that are not. Okay. Insurance costs money. Infrastructure costs money. It costs money to be in business. It can be a very low overhead business, but
but you're not.
You got to have the business. You've got to have revenue to begin with. And if it's not enough to be able to support a staff or even a single person, then it's not viable. One of the things that of course, like I said, one of our divisions, it's called Simple Systems. It's the permanent installation division. Okay, so I know that that's going to be fine. Okay, so if I was looking, So if I was looking at not Plan B or Plan C or Plan B, but looking at like worst case scenario, that if it means that we've got to look at repurposing our people, okay, if we got to look at identifying skill sets and how they translate into things that serves business that is viable, then let's say live event doesn't come back. Okay, it will, but
we all hope it will.
Yeah.
But that is still just a hope.
Sure. Well, the worst case scenario is basically repurposing. Okay. Plan A is, let's retool what we've got and get ready for when things come back. But there's got to be a lull in between there. And it's like, okay, so what is Plan B? And, to be honest with you, we're still working that out. The good thing, let me give you something. Huh?
At least you're working on it.
Absolutely. The very first.
Everything that you've said about what you're doing on this, at least you're working on it. You're going forward. You're trying to achieve something.
Well,
that's more than a lot of people are doing.
Well, you can't stand still. And you know something?
There's several labor companies that have folded and have gone under and have, gone away.
Yeah.
Well, and a lot of that too, is part of, one of the major business models is to be in control of as much as you can control. And so for a lot of those labor companies, they're in control of nothing other than people getting together and having meetings. And so once that one thing is gone, then that's it. The whole business will collapse. So I think that's great advice for us to look at our own selves individually as freelancers and as contractors. What can you take control of? What can you find in your business and yourself and how you're running your company that you need to take control of? Because there's a lot that we learned in a matter of 2 weeks that we're not in control of.
Yeah, kind of like you have, Mark. Kind of like Mickey has. Both y'all have done well, it appears to be.
Well, leaves will
Uh-huh.
always fill gutters.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
kid,
retooling though.
but it's truth.
Retooling, right? Retooling.
Oh my gosh!
Like,
what if there's a leaf virus out there? No.
I'm out.
Mickey, Jackson, how about you guys? Do you guys have any? You guys have any?
I did have one question, Bill. Whenever I order a cable package from VER, they usually will throw in like 20% extra cable for me, for free. Why doesn't that ever happen with labor?
I think it has something to do with how professional cables are about implying about their pay. They do the job. They're taking one for the team.
Sometimes multiple.
Did you have anything, Jackson?
I mean, I've mostly been thinking about World War II tanks, but I do think it is good that you're thinking about other options and trying to diversify.
Well, I think it's a good question to ask, Jackson. You're a young guy. I mean, you got dragged into this industry obviously because of your dad, right? There is such
and the money.
Well, cruelty to children is very difficult to charge in Texas, right? But where do you see yourself going, Jackson? You're the youngest. You're the most unhewn rock in this discussion.
I don't know. I think like the home assembly is like a big one because I've always been like, if you were able to, like, if you can just, here, I'll show you like one small example of like, I've always been building things like with instructions, so I'm kind of naturally inclined towards fixing things and making things. So I was thinking maybe home assembly, as far as like a stopgap, and then I was thinking maybe someday when I'm a lot older, I might become a history teacher because I definitely have a obsession with history.
A lot older.
And
That's
all
cool.
I'm doing.
That's cool, but the thing is, what you're doing there is you're looking at your skill set. I mean, it's like it's all the things that you consider when you make a resume, except a resume is usually more directed to an industry that you're pursuing. So you're thinking about just the skill sets that actually translate to that pursuit. The thing is that you're thinking about all the things that you have skills and or passions for. And if you have nothing but passion and not skill will come naturally because you're passionate about it. That'll come. So the thing is that you're looking at all the things that you have skills and or passion about, and you're looking at what translates those things in something that you can make a living at. And there's your plan C right there.
Yeah. Well, I think a key thing on that too is talking about a resume. A resume is a list of things that you have done. And what this pandemic has done is given us time to take a breath and go, okay, well, that's what I've done, but what do I want to do? What are things that don't show up on this resume that indicate to me where my future lies? So like what you're saying, Jackson, you're looking at things that probably aren't on your resume, but stuff that you're looking at to build and grow on in the future. And again, that's going back to Bill, you saying diversifying, retooling, taking a look at that skill set. How can you take that and adapt it to this new environment?
Maybe.
Go
ahead, Bill.
I think I was screwed.
This is why you don't write a chronological resume, because the best kind of resume out there is the one that lists skill sets.
Mm-hmm.
You put your history in there on some lower section, but the thing that, well, at least me personally, I put on the very forefront, the first thing that they're reading about is what I've got in my arsenal of skills and desire, and how is that something that speaks to you as somebody that got the money that can hire somebody like me?
Yeah.
And,
that's great.
You can't have a plan A without a plan B. And in this case, you should probably have a plan C and a plan D too.
Yeah, I agree.
It's so unknown. Like nobody knows.
No one.
We're only going to know how all this plays out when we look back at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, and maybe it's a good idea to write a resume for yourself that's 10 years in the future. You know?
Yeah. Hey, where do you see it? Where do you see
I
yourself
will be-
going?
What are my skill sets in 10 years? Well, I know what my
I will
skill
be
sets in 10
29.
years.
Some of us will be dead in 10 years.
I wish you wouldn't have said that so
Well,
matter
Bill,
of
thank you so much.
Commitment.
Bill, thanks so much for your time. It was really a pleasure talking with you, and really enjoyed the conversation. That was great.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Good job, Mark.
Oh, thanks, Rich.
Yeah,
let's.
I really appreciate this. Thank you.
Yeah, Jackson, Rich, and then wherever Paul is. Thank you, guys. I'll turn it back over to Mickey, and he'll close us out. Thanks, everybody.
All right, let me see if I can hit the right buttons. I think I can. Hit this one and this one. Hey, look at that. It actually worked. Hey, guys. That was a pretty good thing. I really enjoyed that. There's a lot of good information there. You know, I think we all learned something today. So if you like what you saw, there's a little button down below that says, it's somewhere over there. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button. It'll tell you when another one of these are going on. You know, we started out saying this was going to be every Thursday and Sunday, and obviously it hasn't been. I've actually been getting work. I've been getting work. And so next Thursday, we're not doing next Thursday because I'll be doing a very similar thing to this later in the day. So next Sunday is what we're looking at. We still have not confirmed our guest, but as soon as I find that out, I will post that on all the interesting website stuff that everybody seems to not turn their face away from. Anyhow, thank you so much. I'm going to see if I can make the buttons work here and get the walkout music going. And you guys have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next Thursday.